Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm Cassandra Duffill. It's a pleasure to have you here for the episode today. Today, we're talking about your business model, and we are asking the question, is your business model keeping you stuck? This is something that many practitioners, healers, helpers, people in that realm where we're helping and supporting other people, this is a question we don't often ask ourselves. This is something, though, that is very keenly asked in the broader business world, the corporate world, etc. And it's something that we need to start adopting if we want to grow thriving practices. Unfortunately, we've got an industry where we start with a lot of passion. We decide we want to do this, we want to help people, we want to heal people. And we start our business, open the doors, we have an initial consult, we have a follow up consult, we set a couple of prices, and that's as much thought as our business model gets. Now, this isn't your fault. Okay, you aren't taught how to map out a business model. You aren't taught how to think beyond the one to one. Now, not everybody needs a signature program. Okay, let me say that from the outset. I see a lot of this online. Not everybody needs an evergreen funnel with a webinar. I've had so many discovery calls lately with practitioners who are jumping on with me saying, I'm being told that I have to have a signature program. I'm being told that I have to have an evergreen funnel. No, you don't have to have anything. Your business is yours to create however you like. Just because a signature program worked for somebody else does not mean it's the right move for you, and it doesn't mean it will work for you either. The key is creating a business model for your practice and your business that works for you. Now, I've made some notes here of things that I want to cover today because there's a fair bit to this. So, business model. Now, business model relates to all of the things that you sell, all the offers, all the services. And it can be a really good idea to map this out. What are these things? How much do they cost? What do you sell them for? And how many of each of them do you need to sell in a year to hit your revenue goal? Again, another step that many practitioners don't do. So we want to start really considering what is in our business model instead of offering what we are expected to offer. Initials, follow-ups, okay? We need to start thinking around what our clients actually need, what our clients actually want, and what we want to do. There's no point building a business that is full of one-to-one consults and you've got full books every day, 5 days a week, if you hate sitting across the desk from a client hearing about their health issues. And I say that because I know many practitioners feel like that. We've had some very open and honest conversations lately. And I know that this is a realization, that a lot of you are coming to, that I love what I do, but I don't love the way I'm doing it. So there's so many different ways that you can be using your skills. It doesn't have to be across the desk. It doesn't have to be in a consult. What I do find really interesting is I would say 95% of the practitioners I work with, when we start our work, say to me that I love consulting, but I couldn't do it every day. It's a very draining thing to do, to hold space for somebody, to be in that real present moment with them, to be able to hold them and nurture them through that healing journey. It's exhausting, and I get it. I burnt myself out doing it in my practice. So I think having a balanced business where you might consult a few days and have some other revenue streams or some other things that you're doing on the other days seems to be what most practitioners are aiming for. And I think it's a really healthy business model to be adopting if this is where you're at. I want to talk to you about why we want to do this. So more than just the burnout, okay? The burnout is hard. I've been there myself, from running 30, 40 clients a week in my practice to burning myself out, where I was so burnt out, my adrenals were fried. This is when I realized I was having a pelvic mesh reaction as well, because I had been getting more and more sick. I was waking up every morning with dizziness and couldn't see straight, really blurry vision, wasn't very, very well at all. And for about 3, 4 months before it really got bad, I'd get up in the morning like that and it would wear off after about an hour or so, and then I'd be back to normal. So what did I do? I pushed through. I kept going. Did I take some adrenal supplements? Yes, I did a few things like that. I did some bloods. My bloods came back fine, as always the way. So I just kept pushing on through until December. And I was in such a state for that last month that I had such horrible vertigo. And I was living with this constant feeling like I was on a rocking boat. I couldn't see straight, had double vision, but nobody knew. And I would be sitting there consulting, literally holding the desk with one hand to try and stable myself and to make myself understand where I was in space. I was having some really big issues with my proprioception at that point. And I remember closing the doors for Christmas that year. It was, excuse me, it was the 16th of December that I shut the doors that year. I used to take off the school holidays the entire 6 weeks. When I closed the doors on that date, and it had been a massive month too, I remember that only 16 days I'd worked that month, and that doesn't include weekends, obviously. And the practice had turned over $26,000 in one-to-one consults. It was massive. When I shut the doors and locked them that day, I fell to the floor. I was really just holding on, and my body's gone, enough. And I had the most extreme vertigo and all these other associated symptoms I won't go into. But that vertigo lasted persistently for 7 weeks. And it actually took 2 years to rebalance everything. And I had to do a lot of physio, vestibular retraining, all sorts of things to get my health back. Now, the reason I'm sharing all of this with you is because I know many of you are burning yourselves out as well. And I don't want you to get to the extreme that I was, where I was so badly affected, okay? I want you to put things in place before you get to that point. So you have other revenue streams, other things that you can rely on. The other problem that I had at this point was I had been creating a program, my gut recovery program, for years. I have a big sketchbook, and some of you have seen it on some of our group mentoring calls. Great big notebook, great big sketchbook. It's an A3 size. And it says 2012 or 2013 gut recovery. It's when I first started putting this together. I think it was 2012. And all the ideas and all the post-its and all the things that I wanted to put in there. And then I'd crossed it out. And 2012 changed to 2013. And then I'd crossed that out again, and 2013 turned to 2014. Because I didn't get time to build it. I didn't get time to build it because I was so busy with clients. Okay, so that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? What I would urge you to do is, if you are in a stage right now where you are more quiet, this is the right time to do some business model planning, to set up what you want your business to be, and maybe start creating some of those different things, because when you are busy, your books are full, you don't have time. Now, I was lucky in that I had done some of this, it just wasn't finished. So after sort of that 12 weeks, when I was starting to come a little bit better, I hammered it out. I finished it. I remember, though, I was recording videos, holding onto the desk while the room was spinning around my head. Like, I still was not very well at all, but I needed to get this done. My clinic had a very high proportion of gut-related clients because of my history. So as much as I had a bit of a general practice at that point, because it was a bricks and mortar clinic, you can't stop people coming in. So I did have a bit of a generalist practice, but by and large, there was a fair proportion of gut people. So when I put this program out, it got snapped up. There was a 12-week version, there was a 4-week version that turned into a 6-week version, and then there was a very high-end version that I brought out later that year that was more premium support. This made such a difference to my practice. It brought in $176,000 in the first 18 months of running. So it took the pressure off completely. I really could have closed the doors completely at that point, stopped doing consults, and still been completely fine. But that was not my plan. So the reason I wanted to share that with you is because imagine if I had that ready already, had actually finished it in 2012 or 2013 or whatever those earlier years were, and already had that running. I could have cut back my consults and maybe done it 3 days a week. I could have, in hindsight too, I could have brought in other practitioners. I had a few over the years and never really got that gel of what I wanted. I wanted someone who really did my standard, and I really struggled to find that. But I could have had other practitioners. I could have done 2 or 3 days a week. They could have done 2, 3 days a week. There's so many different ways you can build this. It doesn't have to all be on your shoulders, but we feel like it is. We feel like it has to be that way. So I'm trying to open your eyes today to the point that that's not the case. I've got some points here on my notepad. So, like I said, the limitation of one-to-one, we aren't taught to think beyond it. And, but we need to. but we need to, particularly in this day and age, we really need to. If we don't have other revenue streams, and let's say you don't burn out, let's say you're a healthier spring chicken than I am and you don't burn out from doing that many consults, you will still reach your revenue ceiling. There is a limit to the amount of people you can see in the available time, so your revenue will forever be capped. I found from working with practitioners, depending on how many clients you're willing to see in a week, that revenue cap can be anywhere between sort of 100,000 and 200,000. This might be all you need. Okay. For some of you, that might be great, but bear in mind, that's a turnover number. That's not your income. That's not the money you make. Most of you, if we're running a lean clinic, we might hit a 50% margin. So out of that $100,000 for the year, 50% might be profit. So $50,000. Most of you don't run that lean. Okay. And this is one other thing you probably need to start looking at. How can you pay back your expenses? Because most of you are spending way too much. But that's a side note, and that's a different podcast. We need to make sure we're paring back as much as we can. You need the highest profit margin you can get. Most of you are running around 60 to 70%. So that means out of your $100,000, you might only get $30,000 to $40,000 profit. $30,000 to $40,000 profit. Now, that's the equivalent of working in a pretty low-paying job. A low-paying job where you don't have to do anything outside of hours. You can lock the doors at the end of the day. You can work in retail for full-time and earn more than that. And you don't have to take the job home with you. So what I would say is you need to be thinking beyond that 100,000. Otherwise, you may as well do something else. So you can get up to that $200,000 turnover on your own in a practice of one-to-one. You absolutely can. But having some other revenue streams can be really beneficial because it just takes the pressure off you, doesn't it? Now, let's talk about some signs that we've maxed out our model. So our model means our business model and the way that we're bringing money in the things that we're selling. How can we tell that we've maxed out our model? It might be that you have no time left. Okay. You're so full of one-to-one patients that you don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for your family, or you don't have time for any new clients. It could be that you've got a wait list. Okay. You're so full that you've got a wait list running, or maybe you can't get a client to have an appointment for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. If your client has to wait too long, you will lose them. There's no two ways about that. People contact us when they're in their dire moments. They've already tried other things. They've already seen their doctor. They've done a lot of things and they're still not well. They contact us when they feel like it's very, very emergent and they want something soon. Okay, so if they have to wait 6 weeks, 12 weeks to come and see you, that can be a patient that you lose. So build ways in that you can be seeing that person a little bit sooner. What can you be doing there? The other thing I would say, if you maxed out your model, it's not always about full books. Okay, you've maxed out your model if you hate it. If you hate delivering the amount of consults you're doing or hate delivering consultations altogether, you have maxed out your model. There are so many different ways to run a business, and perhaps you picked the wrong model. Okay, you can use all the skills you've got in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. So let's have a chat about what you can do instead. If we're looking to change the way that we're working, do we all need a signature program? No, we don't. And if your books are a bit quiet, launching a signature program is not going to help you. Nothing looks worse than having a 12-week signature program with one client in it. The right time to launch a signature program is either when you do have full books and a lot of clients with the same issue, like I had with my clinic and all the gut patients. Okay, I had a volume of clients that were the right fit for the service, the signature program that I was about to offer. But you don't want to do that if you don't have that volume. The other time you probably want to add one is if you have spent time building your list. Now, to build a list takes effort, and what we're trying to do is build a list of people who align with that offer that you're going to make. I want you to really put in a hard 6 months before you try and sell something, because your conversion rate is probably going to be 1% to 2%. So if you have 100 people on your list, you'll get one person sign up. You really need a list of at least 500 people to be able to get a decent amount of people into that program. There's nothing wrong with running a program with 5 people in it for your first go. absolutely fine, and it takes the pressure off you as well. But what you don't want is just that one or two. You'll also find by the time you get about to sort of week 6, week 7, people stop coming. So find ways, build ways in to keep them coming. But a program can be a good idea for some of you. It's not the golden ticket that some people are telling you that it is, and it's not something every practice needs. Some people will not want to come into a program. And particularly this year with the market we've got, the economy we've got, a lot of people are happier to maintain their budget and control their spending by coming appointment to appointment or having something shorter term, maybe month by month membership sort of subscription models. Now, that brings me to the second idea for us in our industry: memberships and subscriptions. We know that people need to stay with us for a period of time. It might be 3 months, it might be 6 months, in something chronic, it might be longer. Why not put in some sort of package where they're paying month by month for the help that they're getting and they're committing to, it might be 12 weeks, it might be 6 months, but paid monthly. And then you can keep that revenue flowing. It's still one-on-one, but what you're doing is building your business model into something that's a bit more reliable. You know then that that particular client is going to pay you $500 a month or $1,000 a month, whatever it is, for the next 3 months or 6 months. It gives you a little bit more surety. It also means that they stay the course long enough to get the help that they need. Now, other things you can be doing, there's a heap of them. There's so many different ones. And I wrote an entire chapter on this in my book that I just finished. It doesn't publish till next year, but those of you working with me one-on-one, we will talk about all the different ways that you could be adding offers and services to your business. But there's lots of them. Think about things that don't take any of your time or effort, like downloadables, okay, resources. Please don't think that these products sell themselves or that it's an easy win. They're not always an easy win, okay? You can make the best, low ticket offer or the best meal plans, and it doesn't mean they're going to sell. Everything needs marketing and everything needs a push. Your website, if you're not getting a lot of traffic on your website now, putting a product on there for sale is not going to change that. You really need to be getting volume on your website before these things start to sell organically. Okay, so it's a bit of a system, bit of an ecosystem. There is a fallacy in our industry, and this is not your fault. I know that you've been taught this by other people in other spaces, that you just make this thing and put it on your website and people will buy it when you sleep. That doesn't happen. Okay, I had Gut Reset, which was it was a 4-week and then it was a 6-week DIY program. I had a good traffic volume on my website. So if I didn't push it, I might sell it 5 to 10 times a month. Okay, and at a $500 product, that's great. In my mind, that's free money. If I gave it a marketing push, I could sell anywhere up to about 50 times a month that program. So you see the difference there? So it's really important to put a process in place where you can be making sure all the stars align. You want to build your list in advance of people who want to buy the thing that you've got, and then you want to be able to promote it the right way. Most of the problem we have in our industry with people not being able to sell their programs, their courses, their downloadables, etc., is that you haven't put the time in. You haven't put the time into building a list. You haven't put the time into marketing it. If we just put it out there, tell people once, here's a thing, and no one buys it, then we think, oh, no one wanted it. What's happened there is you haven't told enough people. Okay, we haven't shared it enough. We haven't built the audience who's aligned and wants to buy it. So there's heaps of different ideas. You might be someone who loves face-to-face, so maybe you can add some workshops. Maybe you want to do retreats. Maybe you want to do detoxes, cleanses. There's heaps of different things that you could do. But what I do want you to think about from today is your business model, how you're operating right now, and what do you need it to be. I know a lot of you as well are doing consults as well as teaching. That's a great way. You've got the surety of income from the teaching, and it takes the pressure off the amount of clients that you need in your business. There's also things like affiliates. Affiliates is when you're selling someone else's product and you get a commission on it. Now, do be careful. Check with your association on things like that, because there are some rules around what you can and can't be doing. For example, in a lot of associations, we can't be using MLM products. We can't be selling, Amway or the like branded supplements to our clients. We have a duty of care and we have to be providing the best supplement, the best medicament for where they're at. So think about things like that. And also don't disregard things that are lower ticket but can be volume. Okay. So things like a membership. can be great. Again, you do want client flow. This is not something you would do as a new practitioner. It's something you would plan for as a new practitioner, absolutely, and have it ready to go. But you do want volume in there. There's no point having a $50 a month membership where you've got one person in there for the first 6 months, because you are going to be doing so much work for that one person. The key with these is volume. So you want to be getting 100 people in there, 500 people, even 20 people in there is a great start. And you want that because one of the points of a membership is community. You can't get the community feel if you've only got a handful of people in there. One thing to say, it doesn't matter what revenue stream you're looking at adding to build out your business model. People don't pay for education. And I think a lot of practitioners get this wrong when they are setting up things like memberships and communities. People do want some community, but they want help. They want some results. If your membership or your subscription is not getting them any sort of results, they will not stay. They just won't stay with you. Gone are the days where somebody joined a membership just because you gave them a monthly webinar on a topic of interest. That doesn't fly anymore. People are more savvy with their dollars. There needs to be an outcome. Okay, so the average churn in a membership is about 8 months. Churn means how long someone stays before they leave. If you have a membership, though, that is purely educational, where once a month you drop a webinar on a random topic, you will have churn of about 3 months. Okay, so you don't want to have that. So think about the point. What's the point of it? What are people going to get from being there? What's the result they're going to achieve? And this is the same in every single product that you have. Sometimes we put the blinkers on and we create something that we think is great without actually thinking about the end client or the end patient, the person in mind. Have that person in mind when you're creating the thing that you're doing. Is it going to give them the results that they need? Is it in simple steps? Is it the way that they need to know it? Some people, won't have time for a long-winded online program. Okay, let's say we're talking about corporate workers. We're stressed out, we're working late, we're managing all the things and family and everything else. We don't have the time, the energy, or the inclination to come to a once a week, hour-long lecture on something to do with our health. We really don't. So if you're putting something together for a niche like that, you might need to do it in tidbits. Maybe it's, 5-minute or 10-minute power sessions, and maybe it's backed with an email sequence with little short, sharp tips that they can activate. There's so many different ways to deliver these different revenue streams as well, these different products, these different offers. Don't be caught in the blinders of a 6-week program means I have to deliver 1 hour session every single week, You don't have to do anything that way. Okay, you can do it however you want to do it. Does every program have to be 12 weeks? No. And I actually find it so frustrating when you could deliver all of this to me in 4 weeks and I could get the result, but you're dragging it out for 12. I find that so irritating. I don't sign up for anything like that. If there's something I want to know, I will sign up for something that's DIY and I can do it on my own. I'd rather hammer it out than have to sit and wait week after week after week. I'm not a drip feed person. So you've got to think about your clients and how they want to understand these concepts. All right, so what we've talked about today is your business model, and we've dived into the question, is your business model keeping you stuck? I want you to think about this, have a really deep dive on this. What would you like your business to be, business model? Would you like to be offering more than one-to-one consults? Or maybe you're happy with one-to-one and you just want to book out with those and maybe grow with more practitioners. But the key here is a plan for growth, because your business model, if it is one-to-one, you will eventually hit a revenue ceiling. And that might be fine. That might be what you want to earn. But for most of you, you tell me that's not it. You want more than that. And that's absolutely fine. Okay. Our life is ours to design how we want. So think about that, make some notes on that, do a little bit of brainstorming around it. And I just wanted to remind you too, coming up later this week, 10 o'clock on Wednesday, the 15th of October, that is Australian time, we have a 90-minute co-working session. This is a free session. So I would just love to see as many of you who are free come along to that. I put out an email last week. It was entitled, I Can't Do It Anymore. And I know it resonated with a lot of you. And on the back of it, I've said, you know what, let's get together and let's do a co-working. So I look forward to seeing some of you on Wednesday the 15th. If you're listening to this after, please check out my socials and the event pages on my website, because these will happen regularly. So I'd love to see you at some of them. Thanks for being here. I'd love to hear what you're going to do with your business model. How are you going to move on from a stuck business model? reach out to me and let me know. Have a great day, everyone. And it's been great to be here with you again. I'll see you next time.